Hi, I'm Marcel, and today I'll be looking at the post What kind of character customization appeals to you the most and why? By user Zesty Close Struggle 28. Yesterday, me and my friends were discussing the various character customization systems that exist in TTRPGs. We all agreed that classes are a great option, but some were against subclasses. Also, there was a debate between some players who prefer skills or proficiencies against players who prefer a feat-based system. So after the talk, I decided to ask what you guys think about it. Do you like the existence of subclasses? Are feats the best way to customize your character rather than skills? So I don't want to pull a it depends on the game, but it depends on the game. The way character customization works and the way characters are laid out, it fulfills certain different fantasies that I think work better for different games. I wouldn't say there's a one size fits all thing for this. Personally, I tend to find the feat based systems more enjoyable to me. I like things like Symbaroum and also, I guess, a little bit Vampire the Masquerade. Sure, it's mainly just the skills, but then you get the vampiric abilities that you can buy into. Now that I think about it, I haven't really played many games that work like that, so I don't have a good basis to recommend on. But from my little bit of experience, that's what I've liked the most. With few exceptions, I'm pretty much over classes. I prefer systems that allow you to build the character you want to play. I finally decided to pick up a few Traveler books, and wow, the character creation is a game in and of itself. I love how you're playing a character and not archetype thanks to its life path system. Okay, I've looked at the Traveler life path system. I wanted to include this because of this. Good lord, it's really cool. And in a sense, I really like what it does for the game, but good lord, the Traveler life path system is such a headache to get through, at least in my experience. I really like the idea of life paths because it helps ground a character into a world, especially for a newer player. But good god, if you're gonna put one into your game and make one that complex, especially, please have an alternative. I like classes as a form of background. I'm a soldier when I start playing this character. I've had some training in physical skills, combat skills, etc. I may be able to choose what kind of combat skills, maybe. But after that, I think classes should pass into the background. If I was a herbalist and now I want to dedicate myself to combat without giving up my medical herb knowledge, I should be able to do so. It's just an example. In this sense, I feel like archetypes is what I'm talking about, a starting point, nothing more. So this is sort of like the professions maybe in something like Call of Cthulhu. You have your base skills that you get as part of your background as a person, but then your skills develop based on what you do in the game itself. I'd love to see more games that explicitly involve mixing classes for different areas of gameplay, though I also like the a la carte way where you just pick special abilities and there is no class. By mixing classes, I mean, wouldn't it be neat to be able to pick a combat class and separately pick a downtime class? Then you would mix and match them. Combat and downtime are just examples. The idea is to split whatever the two most important core aspects of the game are, then everyone gets to pick each. E.g., in a game where everyone is a wizard at a wizard school, maybe the first class is the subtype of wizard, and then the second class is the type of student they are. This way, we would see less tropey characters, which I'm kind of over. And for everyone that prefers them, there are plenty of games that already do them, so there isn't a shortage. Frankly, my ideal is the a la carte method, but organized by theme into classes. Blades in the Dark is my main example of that. There are playbooks, but any character can take any special ability from any playbook. The playbooks are more like thematic groupings that can simplify choices for people that want classes, but they are not restrictive in the way classes are, since anyone can go outside them and pick any option. The mixing classes one is new to me, I think. I don't think I've heard anyone have an idea like that before, so that would be kind of cool to see in a game. Symbaroum also does the thematic sorting for character creation for the abilities. You get to pick whatever abilities you want, but in case you want to stick to a more class or archetype like thing, they do have examples of, say, This is what you would do if you want to play a knight-like character. My primary game for the longest time was BRP based, Call of Cthulhu, a very distinctly classless system. Ultimately, everyone in Call of Cthulhu is roughly the same. A human, with one person perhaps being better at one thing than another. The way skill growth works in Call of Cthulhu meant that you could end up with soft classes anyway. One character might be the library use nerd, the other might be the athlete, and the other might have bought a bunch of dynamite that he really shouldn't legally have. The players ended up finding their own roles. My other primary game is Mutants and Masterminds. Oh, I should have thought of that. Yeah, that's another great one for the just buy your abilities. Of which the third edition is the one I'm most familiar with. It's a super system where players build their own powers using a points budget, and you can end up with widely different character concepts and fluff. That's probably one of my favorites. My players enjoyed how creative you could get, at least with some help. No, yeah, you can. There's also some modifiers that you can put into all of the abilities. Some for specific abilities, and then some general modifiers you can use on pretty much any of the abilities. So you can get like really nitty gritty with it. There's a lot of customization in it. It's really cool. I've also run a lot of OSR recently, and I've come to really enjoy the way those games treated classes. No feats, no skills, unless you're using supplementary material. Of 3.x era D&D, I've run a lot of time in both 3.5 and Pathfinder. My players whose RPG background was primarily video games like those best. I guess the answer for me is I like writing games for my players, and I run the type of game that fits the given group best. As a player, I would definitely prefer a classes BRP based system, or something wacky and wonderful and granular, if clunky, like Riddle of Steel. Aesthetically, I don't like the idea that an entire set of options is closed off because of who I was at level 1. I just tried Fabula Ultima for the first time yesterday, and I think it might be my favorite form of customization. It has classes that are mainly just vague buckets of themes. You're not forced to one class, and in fact are forced to multi-class. Every level you pick in the class just gives you a choice of a new class-specific ability. This can be something active like a new spell or ability, or something passive that just affects everything else you do. Passive number boosts are largely not decided by the class you're in. You're kind of free to put them wherever you want. So I've done a little looking into Fabula Ultima. I forgot how many classes there are. There's a lot, and they have names and also sort of off names that you could use to flavor the class in different ways. Basically, as they say, you put points into a few of these classes, and once you put a certain amount of points, I forgot how many, you essentially master the class, and you can't progress in that one anymore, and you can only have 3 non-mastered classes at a time. So I prefer either fully random generation or some kind of classless, probably point by character building. I am not a fan of fully random generation. It sounds so annoying. I either want to be completely surprised by what I end up with, or I want 100% control to build the character I want within the framework of the game. Yeah, as a person, I'm much more into the second camp. Random is the way. No need to read the whole book. No need to worry about if there's more optimal version of whatever you picked. It's fast for the one-shots. I suppose, yeah. Burning Wheel because of how much I love narrativism. Characters are their beliefs, and otherwise they're whatever emerges in the gameplay itself. Interesting. I have Burning Wheel. I need to look into that because it sounds really interesting, but I don't have the time to do it right now. I also love Dogs in the Vineyard for how it embodies how people necessarily put their values on the line in conflicts. Pendragon is also worth noting for how well it executes chivalric character development. I don't really like classes, honestly. I'd much rather just have skill-based and equipment-based character creation. Ooh, equipment-based is another one that I've heard about. Basically like Path of Exile or Diablo, I guess. On a similar note, I think that equipment should be more important in character creation, since so often it is just that thing you do last and is the most boring. True! This guy gets it. I think equipment should be a more important part of character creation, too. I like customization within character classes. Gives the benefits of niche protection and, if well done, minimum effectiveness even if a player is new to the system, but still enough customization to make system mastery matter and two characters of the same class being distinct. Sort of a jack of all trades system. Currently, my main favorite, Dragonbane, is based on BRP, so it is classless and skill based. I feel like we're seeing a lot of basic roleplay answers in here. It technically has professions, but they're really more like starting packages, and everyone has access to the same set of advancement options as they progress. But instead of gaining levels, they increase their skills and pick up feat like abilities each time any skill reaches its maximum level. What I'm against is level up power bloat. In the systems I play now, a high level character isn't so much stronger that they need entirely different content balance for them as they level. While they do increase in power, they mostly broaden their abilities and become more well rounded over time. I pretty much won't play games where my character gains HP as they level anymore. I want characters that get better, but not by so much that they can't still get worried about a chance of death while going into a simple goblin cave. Bonuses of this approach include never balancing enemy encounters again, and characters who have to act like reasonable people instead of immortals removed from many of the consequences of their choices. It's amazing what a difference it makes socially between players when it stops being about power fantasies. People often get unreasonable, overpowered fantasies. I agree to some extent, but I disagree heavily with a lot of their preconceptions about certain other games. As for gaining HP when you level, honestly, I dislike that more because of I don't know, HP bloat just sometimes makes fights feel like they drag on for longer. Anyways, if you want to threaten higher level players with goblin caves for something like D&D, you can do that in a lot of ways without just making the goblins stronger like stat wise. I've noticed that a lot of people don't utilize a lot of systems in games like D&D. Maybe they're just preferring more lightweight stuff, but also like it's there. You can use traps and stuff, and you could also just have the monsters be smart. I primarily run D&D right now, so it's just like in my experience. Of course, we haven't gotten to like the highest levels. I'm not running anything over level 15, but like a few well placed enemies with unique abilities can really handicap a group. If you've never run an encounter with Dark Mantles, boy, do I have an enemy for you to try and use. I remember one time my players going into the cave with a hook horror and two Dark Mantles. The hook horror was fine. I even buffed the thing. I left the Dark Mantles alone. I buffed the hook horror, and they got rid of that no problem. But the Dark Mantles and their magical darkness was killing them. It was a slaughter. Additionally, I disagree with the assertion that just because characters aren't vertically progressing and are instead horizontally progressing, that you don't have to balance encounters anymore. In fact, it presents its own challenges in balancing encounters because instead of characters having certain strong suits and weak points, as these characters progress, they're going to be more adaptable to about any situation because, again, they're pulling from the same pool of abilities and they're able to hypothetically take on more varieties of challenges. And that's something that you're probably going to have to work around in your encounter balance. Classes perform several functions. They act as a way of balancing characters, sure, but they also serve to ground characters decisively within the setting. Both Palladium and Cinnabar, 2nd edition, despite other issues they may have, do very well in this regard. Not only does your class define your power set, but it ties you to a specific organization. If you're a dog boy or an Aquarian, then this is what you can do, and these are the reasons you would interact with the various factions of the world. To me, this sounds like it's not only your class, but it's blending a lot of character background features and also, I guess, taking care of certain character philosophical questions. The worst class systems are the ones which fail to fully justify the class mechanic. For example, D20 Modern has pseudo-classes for each basic stat because they really wanted to make a point buy game, but they also had to exist within the existing D20 framework. By all rights, that game shouldn't have classes in it, but it does, and it feels very contrived. Overall, whatever fits the play experience of that game. I do think most games are over engineered in some cases for the experience they want to create and would benefit from simplification. My specific favorite in a vacuum is character customization that is entirely narrative and is ruled at the table as it applies. Things like White Hack and Cthulhu Dark make use of these types of things. For example, my character is a hammer dwarf exiled from the Iron Britches clan. If one of those details would benefit my character, then maybe I roll with advantage, or maybe I get an extra opportunity, or maybe I just auto succeed at something others have to roll for. Of course, when they prove a detriment, they could also force disadvantage or cost opportunities. Right, that's nice, but I feel like that could apply to basically any game. I don't think that's something you have to just state in the rules. I feel like for most people that just is a thing you think about. Like, if I'm playing Simba Room and I have in my backstory that I'm an escaped or exiled cultist who doesn't want to associate with the cult anymore, I don't need some gameplay mechanic or whatever in the book telling me, oh yeah, these are the things you need to deal with, or like you should take these into account. It's like, I'm pretty sure all of us are already going to try and take that into account when we're dealing with people. Also, while I do agree that maybe sometimes games are a little over engineered, we have a fair share of more agnostic games that you can try and do a few things with. So I think having a few games that are really leaning into the type of fantasy that they want to fulfill is fine. Clearly, that's the jam for some people, and I don't think we should take that away from them. Like, yeah, the current edition of RuneQuest really heavily ties you into the world of Glorantha. But if you want something a little more open ended and agnostic, you can also just get basic roleplay or Mithras if you're looking for that kind of vibe. I need three things from customization. 1. Uniqueness. Enough choice and combination to make me able to realize concepts that I have in mind while mechanically distinguishing me from other characters created by other players. 2. Impactful choices, both mechanical and role playing. Every customization choice must alter the gameplay in some way and must be equally impactful or situational. I dislike 5e because of this. 3. Deterministic. Yeah, I hate character randomization and roll tables. I feel like they have their place, but I understand that. Pathfinder 2e, I think, is PF2. Savage World and Lancer is what I've tried that fits these. I don't think the existence of class or subclass have any impact on my opinion, as long as you can make characters with distinct playstyles mechanically. In general, more options and knobs to fine-tune is always a good thing, as long as those options are equally impactful and distinct. I mean, if you like Pathfinder 2e, I don't understand why you dislike 5e for the second point then. Because, sure, it's not the most mechanically involved, but there's a lot of things you can derive from the character creation, both mechanically and role playing wise. A lot of the backgrounds have features that do nothing mechanically, but just help in roleplay. I mean, I guess in some sense they have their own mechanics, but additionally, the racials for most races in 5e aren't the most impactful, but the stigma of playing certain races itself might be impactful depending on the game world, of course. So I don't know what the issue here is. Like, I get some of the hate for 5e, but I also feel like, especially on the subreddit, it's really overhated for no reason sometimes. Life pack or background or preludes, etc., closely followed by personality traits, bonds, flaws, and so on. Oh, and signature slash custom slash unique abilities, powers, items, or the like. So it seems like this person is more focused on the narrative stuff. As for the unique or custom powers and whatnot, I believe games like Dungeon Crawl Classics have sort of a thing going on with that where I don't know if it was a fighter thing specifically, but I know you could have a specific battle action that you could do sort of that was unique to you. I don't remember the full details, but I thought that was cool. Thank you for making it to the end. If you have any character creation systems that you particularly enjoy, I would love to hear which and why in the comments. Bye bye!